Talking with the experts.
Hello, my name's Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com and welcome to Talking with the Experts. And Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. And you can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. And today it's my pleasure to have Meryl Snow from Snowstorm Solutions on the program. And with her sales expertise, let me move this across here. It's not going to do it for me. With her sales expertise, and she was thinking about a topic, and we're going to discuss secure your sales by turning features into benefits, because with what's been happening since March last year, I think that it's a great topic. And, businesses and brands rely a great deal on quality products and services, but getting their features and benefits, they get a little bit confused and can make even the most promising sales fall flat. So I welcome Meryl on, and we'll discuss that a little bit during today's program. Welcome, Meryl.
Thank you, Rose. I'm thrilled to be here. Thrilled.
Lovely, lovely. So you were just telling me you've been in business for over 30 years. My goodness, that is a long time.
Yes. Yes, it is. And you know what? It went by like that. I cannot believe how fast it went. Yeah. And it's still developing. I'm always doing different things. So it's been exciting. It's been a nice ride.
Yeah. And so what industry exactly is it that you're doing now?
I have two. I have a special events company, which does planning, high-end catering, and design. And then I left the day-to-day of that. And my husband runs the companies. And now I did a pivot, but 10 years ago. And I figured, you know what? I have paid my dues in this business. And now what I want to do is to teach and to work with other companies. And it's been very, very fulfilling. I mean, my jam is sales. I could talk sales all day long. I love sales. So I love going into different companies and transforming their sales team and working with them. And, especially now it's no longer, sales is no longer about like touting accolades and awards. The game's changed. So sales did a really turn. And so it's exciting to start, finish teaching and things like that.
Yeah. So, tell me a little bit more about tell me a little bit more, please, about the benefits of selling and, providing actionable strategies that will introduce the benefits.
Yeah. Since the internet, before the internet, and it was in any business, people came to you because they either heard about you by word of mouth or it was an advertisement. I mean, that was it. And if somebody came to my business and called me, there was a 99% chance I was going to book it because of that. But now the game is so changed because of the internet, because anybody can put up a great website, right? And every business is saying the same thing. We're this, we're that, we can do this, we pay attention to detail. They're all saying the same. So the consumer is very, very confused because we're all listing all these features on our website and they are the same thing, whatever industry it is, right? So what I'm teaching is that we have to take our features and turn them into benefits, because you'll never see a benefit listed on a website because a benefit is something that invokes emotions in somebody.
Oh, yes.
So that is, it is a huge thing. So the key thing is to figure out what the triggers are of the client. And too often people are not asking the right questions. We're so used to whatever discipline you're in, we have this inquiry sheet. We just ask these questions, boom, 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 because we think we know what the client wants, but do we? Do we really know? So the key to the secret sauce is truly asking the right questions, finding out what their triggers are, and then turning that into a benefit for them.
Okay, so
That
how
make
does one
sense?
go and find it and ask those right questions? Because, it's something that a lot of business owners really are challenged with, is asking those right questions to turn those questions into a benefit for the client.
Right. And it's getting away from asking the yes or no questions. When are you getting married? In June? When are you, so what we have to do is we have to dive deeper and ask, like for a wedding example, one of the questions I would ask is, what do you want your guests to feel when they leave your wedding? One may say, I want them to think it was the most elegant, sophisticated wedding that they've ever been to. Somebody else may say, I want them to think it was the best party that they've ever went to, dancing and just lots of liquor and just a lot of fun. It's two different clients here, yet we're treating them the same, right? Another question I would ask is, tell me, I've been doing this for so long and I still get so excited about hearing about the engagement story. Tell me about your proposal. Well, one may say, well, we were on top of the Eiffel Tower, and I'm thinking, cha-ching, right? or they may say, well, we were at Denny's, which is a diner here in the US. And they put this parfait in front of me and I'm digging in. Ooh, I see something glittery and I pick it up and there's my ring and I'm licking the pudding off of it. Are they two different clients here?
Absolutely.
Yes. Right. But we're treating them the same. So then I would say, tell me a must-have. I have to have a photo booth, or I have to have dancing in between courses, or I have to have my ceremony outside, whatever it is, who knows? Then I would say, well, tell me what's a deal breaker. If I don't have my ceremony outside, I'm not having it there. So now I know what the trigger. So we asked about 10 questions and it's in conversation form. It's not, boom, 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 boom. It's a conversation. So now I have this avatar of this client right here. I know what their likes are. I know what their dislikes are. I know everything about them that pertains to how I want to sell them. So it could be they're telling me that their mother-in-law is just driving them absolutely crazy, right? So then I would take that and turn that into a benefit for them, right? Yeah. So everybody always says like, oh, our service is so great and blah, 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 and then it goes above the client's head, right? So one of the ways to do that is to say to the client, our service is so outstanding, which means, and you always want to say which means because our brains pause when we hear that because it's saying, alert, alert, something important's happening next. So then I would say, which means that your mother-in-law is not going to have anything to say, right? So that brings it to their world, right? Yeah. Or another one is our service is so outstanding, which means your friends are not going to wait in line at the bar. And the brides think, what? That could happen? So you have to bring it into their world by taking those answers that they gave you and turning them into a benefit. Does that make sense?
It certainly does. Yeah, my son's getting married next April, and I'm trying not to be that mother-in-law.
I get that.
Yeah,
I get that.
I'm making their invitations because I like to be a bit crafty, and she wants some Australian natives put on it. So I said that I'd make them for her, and that's about my limits to my mother-in-law.
You're smart. You're smart, keeping out of it, just putting your little touch into it, and that's it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just don't want to get into trouble.
I hear you. Well, that's exciting, being the mother of the groom.
Yeah, don't know. I'm trying to find out what I need to wear. Because I'm having a semi-formal wedding. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's nice.
Anyway, so we'll get back on track now. Just get over my wedding tips. So yeah, and I heard what you said about the questions. I think, and those are really great questions and great quality questions to keep, in a conversation, and then you can turn their concerns into a benefit, as you said, and using that
Right.
word outstanding, and then saying, however, or which means the same thing, the bride won't, fall over, or the cake's not going to get destroyed, or, something like that. So,
Right.
yeah, I think that's really good. And I must write that down later because I'll use that for myself.
Definitely do, because it is amazing. I mean, we use about 7 different questions. And once I have the clear picture, because I believe that businesses or salespeople treat all consumers the same way, because whatever discipline we're in, we think we know what they want because we do this all the time, right? But do we? Do we really? Because everybody is so different, yet we treat them all the same. And I think if we change that attitude and really dive in and find out what the client's triggers are, we're going to book the event. We are. Like, here's another thing with questions. I love this question. So let's say I'm a photographer and I ask the client, so tell me, what do you think? What comes to mind when you think of a professional photographer? And the client may say, I don't even want a photographer. My mother's making me get the photographer. I can't stand those pose shots and lights in my eyes and being pulled from here to there. I just want everybody to just use their iPhone. So what that means to me is that she's going to go with the lowest price person because she doesn't want a photographer. But since I asked that question and now I'm writing the proposal, and she opens it up and she reads it and says, no canned shots, what, blah, 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 everything that she said she didn't want, I would put in the proposal, and she's going to open it up and she goes, oh my gosh, she gets me. And she will book me even if I'm $1,000 more. So it's not about price so often. It's just, we're just not asking the right questions and finding out what they want. And we have to be different, because if one company, stationery, let's take, if one company for stationery is $1,500 and this company is $1,200, and the client doesn't see the difference between the two, they're going to go with the cheaper one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's right. That's why we hear price so often. It's because of that. It's something.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's quite right. If people, if they can't see the difference between the two companies, but the one's more expensive than the other, of course they're going to go for the less expensive one, because
right,
helps their budget and they can spend more on their honeymoon. So yeah,
that's true. That is very true.
Yeah. So I've just lost my train of thought. I'm really sorry.
That's all right.
What other things can people do to make their sales more effective then, to I guess to lock in those benefits to their clients?
Well, I think it is, and you've heard it all over for business, it truly is about the relationship. And I think that because, especially with COVID, we don't have the chance to really see each other in person. We have Zoom meetings, we have, these type of meetings, but what's been happening even before COVID is everybody goes onto the internet and just goes to your contact page and just asks, I want to see pricing, right? And that means they're treating us all like a commodity. Like, everybody's the same. And I'm just going to go with the cheapest price, and send me your prices. Because if you are a registered florist or whatever it is, then you're going to be good. But that's not the case. And I think that we as business owners have to remember that to them, it's about price until they see why you're different, why they're paying that money. And it truly is the business's job to make sure that happens. And that is in relationships. That is in asking the right questions. That is in personalizing. I mean, because you say, what are your pricing packages? And you send them out, and everybody prices things differently. So you're sending your prices out, and then you may be way over somebody else because you include everything. And then the other company line items everything. So it's very difficult. So I never send prices out. I give ranges, but I never send prices out.
Yeah, well,
So
that's a
there's
good idea
lot of-
too. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I've got price. I mean, I've got packages on my website.
I know, I was on there. I was
Ah.
on your website. Very nice, by the way.
Oh,
I
thank
do my
you.
homework before I come on. And
Oh.
I'm looking for prices on some of this stuff. I say, oh, how much is she charging for that? And I didn't see it. So that was very smart. You're going to make me call you. So that was
Yeah,
good.
some of them are. Some of them, you've got to call, and some that there are when you go into the shop, you can obviously see the prices. But
Right,
to me, I
right.
think it's transparency. I'm into transparency, and I don't want to be fooling people and having them, if they're doing some research and there's someone they find that does a similar thing to me, I'd rather them know how much they're up for, and then they can add extra stuff to it. So I do believe in transparency in business. I'm just that type of person. I know a lot of businesses aren't, and you go on these websites that are selling computer programs and whatever. You've got to scroll down 50 pages before there's a price. I thought, my God, you don't want that. You want it straight up top so people can see. That's my thinking anyway.
So true. So true.
Anyway, so what would you, as a business owner, what advice would you give them to, keep their business, I guess, transparent and the questions that they should be asking, and, how can they make their business give more benefit? Because I know the internet is so noisy these days. I mean, and to try and make yourself different from everybody else is really, really hard these days.
It's so hard, especially on the internet.
Yeah, much more difficult than it was a year ago. I mean, a year ago, it wasn't so hard, but now everyone's on there because they have to be. They have no choice. And if they want to survive as a business owner. So, what advice would you have around that? If that question even made sense.
It totally makes sense. And I agree with you that the internet is very noisy. Anybody can put up a pretty website and say the right words. And what the client will do is they will use our contact forms to connect with us, right? And they want like packages or pricing or whatever. The key thing is to get a conversation. And that's sometimes very difficult because any good salesperson will say to you, look, if I could just talk to them, I know I'll book it. But it's so difficult to talk to them because they want to do everything online. So one thing that we did this about 15 years ago. And what happened is the internet happened. And then we were getting all these inquiries online. And we didn't treat them like real leads because we were thinking, well, if they really want us, they would just pick up the phone to call us. So we would look at it and, we would send a template letter and send whatever packages or whatever, but we really didn't pay enough attention to it. So one day, 15 years ago, I'm going through these internet inquiries and I'm looking at it, it's like, whoa, these are our clients. What are we doing here? So we had to say, okay, we have to pay a lot more attention to these. And we did, but we could never hear from them. So we said, how are we going to get a conversation with them? So what we did is we figured that any consumer always gets, like if you're a plumber, you'll get 3 bids or 3 call, you just call usually 3 people. And in business, they would just want to get the prices. So they sent them all at the same time. So for an example, if this was a wedding, they would say on the subject line, they would say wedding at Greystone Hall, right? And then they would do their email and what information. So instead, what we did three different things. The first thing is we changed the subject line to you chose my favorite venue. And the reason we do that is because all businesses are now responding immediately, which they should. But so then in the client's inbox of their mail, they're seeing Greystone Hall, you picked my favorite venue. Ooh, what's that? And clicks right into that. All right, that's step number 1, changing that. The next step is get rid of the template email, get rid of it completely, and do like maybe 3 or 4 lines. This is an amazing place. We love working there. You know, I'd love to hear your ideas. Are you available this evening at 6 o'clock or after 6? You know, question mark, and that's it. Because we as humans, we answer questions. Because I get a lot of emails that if they're not asking me a question or anything, I'm not answering back, right? So if they ask a question, so we tried this, and we tried many different ways, and this is how it ended up, and this still works to this day. And what happens is we get these emails back saying, yeah, 6 o'clock works. That's fine. Great. That's gold. That is gold, because now I have a conversation with this client, and which is huge, because like I said, any good salesperson, if they could just talk to them, they'll book it.
Yeah.
They will book it, because we're making that relationship. So I think that is my number one tip on especially internet inquiries, because that could be devastating just to constantly be ghosted, and you know, they don't call you back, they don't email you back. It's just crazy. Yeah. So that has really worked for our company and many companies that I teach.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's I've dealt with businesses, you know, and I don't get an email back for 3 or 4 days, and I want an instant answer. You know, I don't want to have to wait. You know,
Right.
And if they had a clause in this, you know, we'll answer within 24 to 48 hours, yeah, then I wouldn't expect an answer. But if they don't have that clause in there, then I would expect a turnaround of, you know, 24 hours at the maximum.
Right.
So yeah.
And most clients, especially if they're young, they respond like it's text.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like the nine words they'll text back or write back. And I'm fine with that. I love that, because most of what they're doing is on their phone anyway. So you might as well keep it quick. So get rid of the template letter and the words. Thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to be of service. Yeah, that is just like so wrong.
Yeah, well, it is now, because it's a different generation, you know, and they don't talk like that.
That's right. They don't.
The younger generation don't talk like that. I mean, people of our generation and the one before us do, but not the ones afterwards. They don't. And you're right. I mean, you know, it's minimal words. It's just minimal.
And thank you notes has gone by the wayside. I can't remember the last time I got an actual thank you note.
Very horrid. Actually,
I got an email.
Yeah, I got one. Actually, I got a for Christmas. I know this fellow, you know, just over the internet, but I've been on his podcast and he's been on mine. And then he sent me a personalised Christmas card with my podcast logo at the time on the front of it, and thanking me so much for having him on my podcast. And I was absolutely amazed that, you know, that he would think to do that. So how he
wanted you to remember him.
Yeah, I wouldn't forget him anyway. But the fact being that that he went out of his way to do that was lovely. But you're right.
Are you putting me on the spot that I'm going to have to send you a thank you note?
No, but you're right. No one does send thank you notes, and even after a wedding these days, you know, thank you notes have just gone down the toilet. They have,
or they do the standard already pre-printed one. It's like, why bother sending it out? You know that, you know, I'm talking about. Thank you so much for being part of our special day.
Nothing's
and that's it.
Personal. It's nothing. No personal things anymore. To me, it's I don't know. It bothers me a little bit.
It's a shame.
We've lost that thing. All right, Meryl.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Website. Where can people find you?
Well, Meryl at merylsnow.com or just merylsnow.com. And there's Instagram and Facebook. Oh, Rose, are you familiar with Clubhouse?
Yes, I don't have an iPhone, so I can't use it.
You need to get on there, because podcasters are doing really well on there.
I know, but I don't have an iPhone, and I don't know.
But they're opening it up to Android in May.
Soon. Yes, soon.
Yeah, so definitely do that, because you would believe the podcasters that are doing
Oh,
really
there's
well on
heaps.
there.
Yeah, I know. And I really need to get on there.
Yes, you do.
I do. Okay. And so have you got any last words?
Well, yeah, that today businesses are like startups again. And here's the thing though, we are all startups again, but with the knowledge that we didn't have when we first started up. So that's a plus. That will help the learning curve quite a bit. But yeah, and we have to treat our businesses right now like they're startups and be lean and mean.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's not it's like that thing that you say, if you were 18, I wish I knew what I knew now, you know.
Right,
that
exactly.
Sort of scenario. Yeah. All right, Meryl, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It has.
To speak
I
with
love
you.
speaking with you.
Oh,
I hope to get to see you in person someday.
Oh, yes, you'll have to come to Aussie and see me. You'll love it here. You'll love it here.
I know, everybody says that.
Yeah,
all right,
beautiful.
thank you.
You take care.
That's good. It was great to see you.
You too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.